Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Johns Hopkins School of Education Postmasters Applied Behavior Analysis virtual webinar. My name is Sion John. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Also presenting today, we have Professor and Program Lead, Dr. Tamara Martyr. Before we get started, I would like to cover a few housekeeping topics. First, today's webinar is being recorded. We will be able to share a link with you after the event is complete. We welcome you to revisit the content yourself and share it with your colleagues or friends who might be interested in the program as well. Also, please take a second to see if your mic is on mute right now. Please have your mic on mute at all times during the presentation. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Please type your question in the chat box and Dr. Martyr and I will read and answer your questions at the end of the presentation. So next, I would like to share the agenda for today's virtual webinar. We will kick off the presentation sharing an overview of the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Then Dr. Martyr will introduce herself and discuss an overview and details of the Postmasters Applied Behavior Analysis program. We also have an alumnus of the program who will share her experience attending the Johns Hopkins University School of Education and enrolling in the ABA program. Lastly, I'll wrap it up with admissions requirements and leave the floor open for questions at the end. Again, please keep in mind to type your questions in the chat box at the end of the presentation. So to start, quick facts about the Johns Hopkins School of Education. We are one of 9 schools at Johns Hopkins University. We began offering college courses for teachers in 1909 and then became our own school in 2007. And we just celebrated our 10th anniversary last year. For school enrollment, we have approximately 2,600 students. We are accredited by NCATE and CACRAP, and all programs leading to licensure is approved by the Maryland State Department of Education. We have campuses in Baltimore, Maryland, Columbia, Maryland, and offer classes online. We are proud to share that the Johns Hopkins School of Education is consistently ranked one of the top schools in education by the U.S. News and World Report. At this time, I am going to hand the floor over to Dr. Tamara Martyr. She is going to introduce herself and present on the Postmasters Applied Behavior Analysis program.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be with you this afternoon. My name is Tamara Martyr, as has been said. So I have been working in the field of applied behavior analysis since 1994. I've been working with students with developmental disabilities, as well as training teachers who serve students with autism, as well as other developmental disabilities. I'm very interested in improving learning outcomes for students, as well as training educators in the implementation of evidence-based practices, which leads us right into talking about the Applied Behavior Analysis program here at Hopkins. So if you are interested in the ABA program that we offer here, it is important to know that what is applied behavior analysis. So when we look at a definition of applied behavior analysis, we know that it's a scientific study of the principles of learning and behavior. Why we do what we do, why do humans do what they do, and specifically, why do students in educational settings do what they do, and how can we help them learn better? It is a systematic approach for applying these principles of learning to improve socially important behaviors for all individuals. And looking at our program, we are verified by the Board Certified Behavior Analyst program. So we offer a BCBA, which is a graduate level certification in behavior analysis. So ABA, practitioners of ABA, of behavior analysis, provide services that can include, but are not limited to, conducting behavioral assessments analyzing data, and making database decisions. This database decision making is incredibly important to what we do, and that we can change outcomes for students based on the data that we collect. Behavior analysts also write and revise behavior analytic intervention plans, train others to implement those plans, and oversee the implementation of treatment plans. If you are interested in learning more about behavior analysis and what applied behavior analysis is, I highly recommend that you check out the Behavior Analyst Certification Board website, where we have our 4th edition task list that outlines all of the skills and tasks that every BCBA needs to know. Our program is built on that task list, that 4th edition task list. So in describing our program, we offer a postmaster's certificate in applied behavior analysis. And our program is designed for special educators, general educators, coordinators, administrators. We've been fortunate enough the past few years to have a few school psychologists who've enrolled in our program, as well as school counselors. As I mentioned earlier, this program will help all participants learn the evidence-based practice of applied behavior analysis. And this is to meet the growing needs of children who receive special ed services in K through 12 settings. This program also supports the career goals of special educators, as well as other personnel, school personnel, who want the specialized training in behavior analysis. We have a total of 8 courses in this postmaster certificate. There are 6 content courses and 2 practicum courses, which I'm going to speak about very soon. And the program can be completed in 2 years. We are really fortunate here to have all of our faculty who are board certified behavior analysts, either at the master's level. All of our faculty are doctoral level practitioners. But we are very fortunate because the majority of our faculty also work in the field of behavior analysis and are out in the field every day applying behavior analytic principles in school settings. I think I mentioned this earlier as well, that the Behavior Analyst Certification Board has verified our course sequence. Actually, that verification now comes under the Association for Behavior Analysis International. So they verify our course sequences and also have verified our practicum requirements. Most candidates who come through our program can complete the 24 credits, like I said, 8 courses across 4 semesters, taking 2 courses each semester. So it takes you about 2 years to complete this program. We do not offer courses in the summer. The courses are only offered in fall and the spring semesters. All of our courses are offered here in our Columbia campus, face-to-face, 2 nights per week. So typically students will be in class with us at least 2 nights per week from about 6 to 9 p.m. We also have our practicum coursework, which are planned according to your current place of employment. So as long as we can verify that you are implementing ABA type services within those settings. And if you go back to our slide, I'm going to go back there right now, talking about what is ABA. These are the activities we would be expecting our students who are in the practicum program be able to implement: conducting behavioral assessments, analyzing data, writing plans, training others to implement plans, and so forth. So, coming back to talking about the practicum, we try to ensure that students who are currently employed, especially in school settings, are able to complete their practicum where they are employed. We don't want anybody to have to leave their current job in order to complete the program and complete the practicum. However, if the current place of employment does not meet the needs or the outline of what applied behavior analysis is, then we would help place you in a practicum placement with our practicum coordinator that would meet those needs. So here is the breakdown of the courses across the semesters. You can see fall and spring semester of year 1, and then fall and spring semester of year 2. In the first semester of year 1, you're going to take 2 courses. The first one is the Introduction to Applied Behavior Analysis in Special Education. This course, we always talk about, it's like going to a new country and learning a new language, and that is the language of applied behavior analysis. So in this course, you will learn about the principles of behavior and how that applies to special education. So we spend a lot of time talking about what are all those principles, what is the technology of applied behavior analysis. Then you will also take the course on research methods, and this is looking at single case design and how do we make those database decisions. One, how do we collect that data? How do we analyze that data? And then how do we design that data to ensure that we are seeing a change in behavior? During the spring semester of the first year, students will also be enrolled in our Challenging Behaviors course, which is really looking at behavioral assessment from functional behavior assessment, functional analyses, all the way through intervening with challenging behaviors. And you will also be taking a course on ethics and really looking at the professional conduct of behavior analysts. This is a very important aspect of our field. Ethics is highly emphasized within our field as well as within our program. When you move into the second year of the program, as you see during the first year, there's a focus on behavioral assessment for challenging behaviors, and we've separated that out from instructional strategies. We want to take the time to focus during the spring semester of the first year on decreasing those inappropriate behaviors. But during the second year, during the fall semester, we want to focus on improving behaviors we want to see increase. So during that fall semester, you would be working on what are the instructional strategies that I can use to change behavior, to increase behavior, and how do we maintain and generalize that behavior over time. We also, during the fall semester of the second year, we provide our students with the Practicum experience, which I'm going to talk about shortly. But the Practicum is completed over 2 semesters during the second year. The final course of the spring semester during the second year is Applications of Applied Behavior Analysis in the Classroom. And this is a seminar course where we talk about all the different aspects of implementing behavior analysis in a classroom or an educational setting and what impact that has on our practice. We also, during the second year spring semester, we also in this class focus on preparing for the BCBA exam, where we talk about strategies for preparation and strategies for taking the exam and how to prepare for the exam. Once students complete this program, as you see, it's a part-time program, 2 courses per semester over 2 years. Once students complete the program during that spring semester of the second year, they should be ready and prepared to take the BACB exam, the BCBA exam in August of that year. Now let's talk a little bit about Practicum. As I mentioned, we have verification for our Practicum courses. We offer the intensive Practicum. If you're familiar with the BACB guidelines, you would know that that intensive Practicum is no longer going to be an option in a few years. We still have 2 years, I think at the bottom you see, I said requirements will be increasing to 1,000 hours for students entering our program in the fall 2020. So this upcoming fall 19 would be our last time where we will be offering the intensive Practicum for the cohort coming in fall 19. Like I said, the Practicum is during the second year of the program. The Practicum is designed to provide supervised experiences in the application behavior analysis in educational settings. We do have a wonderful ABA Practicum coordinator that helps all of our students have appropriate placements and verifies their placements as appropriate to be a Practicum site for ABA. We also provide you with an individual supervisor who meets with you 1.5 hours per week. And since this is a course, you also will have a group supervisor for 1 hour each week. So you have to complete a total of 750 hours over the 2 semesters. That's what the requirements are for the intensive program. So within each 15 week, you accrue 375 hours. total across the semester with 25 hours per week. And then you have 2.5 hours of supervision, which meets the requirements by the BACB. So that supervision, again, is divided between 1.5 hours with your individual supervisor, as well as a 1 hour group supervision from the course. We will, as the practicum coordinator works with you, if there's a BCBA on site where you work, we will work with them to make sure that they could provide that supervision to you. If there's not a BCBA on site where you are employed or where your practicum placement is located, then we have a group of university supervisors who are BCBAs who provide that supervision for you. The great thing about the practicum that we offer is that many programs don't offer practicum, and students are responsible for getting the supervision on their own. This is all wrapped up for you in this program in the 2 practicum courses. Obviously, you're paying for tuition, but you don't need to worry about finding a supervisor. We will find that supervisor for you. You also don't need to worry about paying for that supervisor because that is part of the tuition that you're paying for the course. The other great benefit of this practicum is that there is a curriculum that goes along with it. Each semester, the practicum is focused on a specific area. So for the first semester of the practicum, we focus on challenging behaviors and decreasing challenging behaviors, where the second practicum in the second semester is focused on increasing behaviors. It's important to note that when we decrease behaviors and increase behaviors, we typically do that together at the same time. You cannot decrease a behavior without teaching a new behavior as well. So, but for the program, we separate those 2 aspects out so that there can be an emphasis on one and then an emphasis on the other each semester. So upon successful completion of all 8 courses in the program, students will receive a postmaster's certificate in applied behavior analysis from the Johns Hopkins University School of Education. Students are responsible for applying and supplying all supporting documentation to the BACB to sit for that exam and to get accepted to sit for that exam. So we as the university do not apply to the BACB on your behalf. Students are all responsible for doing that on their own. We will not be providing any certification in applied behavior analysis, but we will be providing you with that postmaster's certificate and that diploma saying that you graduated from our program. It's also important to note that each student who goes through our program and completes our program is expected to pursue that BCBA certification upon completion of the program. So any students who go through this program and graduate and do so successfully, that is wonderful, but in order to become a BCBA, you must apply and sit for that exam to become certified. So that's a very important piece of the program as well. Some advantages of our program is that our program is really focused on ABA and education, specifically K through 12. This is, the focus is not just on autism. There are many programs out there which talk about ABA and autism together. Although we do discuss autism, we're also discussing severe disabilities and emotional disabilities, intellectual disabilities. We'll also have students, graduate students who are working in self-contained classrooms, but also in inclusion settings. So we're looking at a variety of different disabilities across a variety of different settings and how we can implement behavior analysis in all those different types of settings. It's also important to note that Hopkins is the only graduate school of education in Maryland that offers this specialized certificate. Another advantage that I just spoke about was our practicum experience. Again, we provide that BCBA supervisor. We have a course that's associated with the practicum and the experience associated with the course, but it's individualized based on your skill level. So we were talking about the 4th edition task list. When students come into the practicum, they complete what we call a 4th edition task list assessment, where they identify all of their current skills, where they need support, and where they feel they excel. And then your supervisor will work with you during your practicum experience to address all of those skill sets associated with the 4th edition task list. We're proud to say that in 2017, our pass rate for the Hopkins program was 89%. So our students, 89% of our students passed the exam in 2017. This is very important because if we look at the national pass rate for all first-time BCBA test takers, according to the BACB, the pass rate was 65%. So we are pretty happy that we were way above that national average. Another advantage of the program is all the faculty are board certified behavior analysts and have been practicing and practice behavior analysis every day in their jobs, and then they come and teach with us in the evening. So they're very familiar with some of the challenges of implementing ABA every day in a school setting. On this slide, we outline the different learning outcomes of the program, the specific learning outcomes for our students. So a few that I want to point out, obviously, is being able to define, demonstrate, and apply these principles of behavior analysis, to use research methods to evaluate the effectiveness of all of our procedures that we implement. We also expect that our students come out of this program understanding how to conduct behavioral assessments to identify effective instructional programming as well as behavior reduction plans. We also will teach our students to design, implement, and evaluate instructional programs based on assessment results to increase those desired behaviors, the behaviors we want to see. And we also define and practice the guidelines for responsible conduct for behavior analysts. So we really look at those ethics and professional behaviors that all behavior analysts should possess. Another outcome is to implement, manage, and practice applied behavior analysis in an educational setting. And finally, of course, to successfully complete the Behavior Analyst Certification Board exam as evidenced by a passing score. The impact of our program, our program started in 2013, and since the program's inception in 2013, we've had 54 students graduate from our program. These students all represent a variety of educational professionals, from special educators to behavioral specialists, school psychologists, school counselors, administrators, as well as instructional specialists. We're also proud that our program represents 11 different school systems across the state of Maryland, as well as DC. Like I've said, we've had 4 cohorts who've completed the program. 43 of those folks are now board certified behavior analysts, and many of them are also licensed behavior analysts in the state of Maryland. Currently, we have cohort 5 and 6 currently enrolled, and I know cohort 5 is getting very excited that they are in their last semester of the program and have about 14 weeks until they graduate from our program. So many times people ask me, who is the ideal candidate for this program? And so I've added this slide into my presentation to go over that. And one is that the ideal candidate will demonstrate or have the desire to commit to this field of applied behavior analysis. So when somebody comes into the program, they really need to understand all of the requirements by the BACB. So this is not just the requirements that Johns Hopkins University has for this program. These are the requirements that are outlined by our field, the applied behavior analysis field. So folks really need to understand what that entails and understand what that training is all about. So the ideal candidate here needs to have an understanding of all of the requirements to become board certified. And this is all outlined by the BACB. The ideal candidate also has the ability to commit to 2 years of intensive graduate coursework. And I do not want to sugarcoat it. This program is very intense, but like any program, the more you put into it, the more you will get out of it. In the end, you will be prepared to become a board certified behavior analyst. The ideal candidate also obviously needs to demonstrate meeting all the admission requirements, and finally willing to work and study hard in this program. So I'm going to turn it back over to Sayan, who's going to talk about our alumnus, who's going to join us in a few seconds.
All right, so we have Alicia Wolf. She is going to speak on behalf of her experience here at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. And Alicia, whenever you're ready.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alicia Wolf. My my bio is right there, but I'm going to talk a little bit through it. I'm really excited to be here today, and I'm happy to tell you about my experience. So a little bit about me. I've been working with children with disabilities for 15 years, and I've been involved in education leadership for about a decade. When I was an undergrad, I was hired as an ABA intern under a BCBA, and I had no idea what that meant in undergrad, but I loved it. And after I had that experience, I knew working with children to teach them behavior, in other words, just teaching, was what I wanted to do. So after college and after my master's program, I was a special educator in Prince George's County and Montgomery County, Maryland. And then I went to Kennedy Krieger Institute, which is in Baltimore, a big institute in which I got an experience in the neurobehavioral unit. I was in a leadership program there, so I was in the neurobehavioral unit at Kennedy Krieger about once per week. And then I realized that I still love ABA. I still want to work with children with using ABA. So I did some research and programs. Where can I get more education in ABA? Meanwhile, I became clinical faculty and director of special ed at an organization called Urban Teachers, and it is a nonprofit affiliate of Johns Hopkins School of Education. So, of course, Johns Hopkins School of Education came up as, there's an ABA program there. So I did a lot of research, I did some more, and I realized that Johns Hopkins University School of Ed ABA program, it just kept sticking out. The faculty are experienced, all of them are BCBAs, like Dr. Martyr said, and they were willing to work with me to get practical, meaningful supervision and experience in ABA, which is different from some of the other programs that don't provide you with a supervisor, that might not work with you in helping you to develop your ABA practice within the realm in which you're currently you're in. So Johns Hopkins School of Education was really willing to work with me and as an education leader. So that was a little different. And so a lot of my classmates, most of my classmates were teachers. Some of them were in leadership positions like I was too. And I was supervising and training teachers. And so I got the opportunity I had to work with children doing ABA as part of my BCBA training, but I also was able to do some projects that were working with adults and training them to work with the kids. And so with that, if you are an education leader or a classroom teacher or a different type of school-based or not school-based personnel, then the flexibility of this program is really for you. Other piece, I didn't have to look for a supervisor, and that was of huge importance to me because I was provided a BACB approved supervision, Dr. Martyr, and I had an amazing individual supervisor. They were always available. They were willing to help me problem solve, to take on projects that prepared me to do my job well, as I worked with both children and with adults. So not only that, since my cohort, since you travel as a cohort, my cohort took all their classes together. And so I have an amazing support system after graduating of BCBAs that I still email regularly. I see them out, I'll email them questions. They're super responsive. I mean, we traveled for 2 years together throughout the program. And overall, I'm here talking to you now because this is just a great decision for me. Anyone looking to feel confident, supported as a BCBA, this program does that. Right now, I'm working as a leader in central office at Prince George's County Public Schools, which is actually where a few other people from my cohort also work. They were there before. And then graduating from the JHU program, getting my BCBA were huge boosts when I applied for the job, because now I'm leading an initiative throughout the county, Prince George's County, to improve professional development for special educators and central office staff using ABA principles. So I'm continuing, and I'm doing some of the traditional, like what you would think, working with children with autism and working with children to do behavior intervention plans and FBAs. I'm doing some of that, but I'm also really using my BCBA to to provide more evidence-based professional development for special educators and central office staff, which is something that I was wanting to do. And so like I said, you can kind of get some experience where you need to while you're meeting your requirements to become to possibly become a BCBA throughout the program. So by the way, the strategies that in the program that Dr. Marta referred to that prep you for taking the exam, they really work. I passed my first time I took my exam, got my certification, my BCBA certification in September, and I just sent my application in to be a licensed behavior analyst in the state of Maryland. So I feel like overall the program was incredibly helpful for my success in my professional, in my career. So I would highly recommend it, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have if you have any in the chat. But like I said, this was a really good experience for me.
Thank you so much, Alicia. All right, so now moving on to the application requirements. So first, applicants must submit a completed application, which can be found on our website. The application fee is $80. Priority consideration deadline is April 1st. Applications accepted after this date is based on space availability. Be sure to provide an accurate email address when you submit your application, and that you check it regularly, as this is how we will communicate with you throughout the application process. You will need a current resume or CV, and you should submit 2 letters of recommendation. Next, 500-word essay must be uploaded. Your 500-word essay must discuss the reasons you wish to pursue a degree at Johns Hopkins School of Education, focusing on your long-term goals and how your academic program will complement those goals. Discuss the strengths and weaknesses in your academic background, as well as any additional comments that will assist in evaluating your application materials. We need all official transcripts, including institutions you may have taken courses but did not receive a degree. Again, this is from all post-secondary institutions that you have attended. Lastly, a select number of applicants will be invited for an interview. These are the application requirements for the ABA program at Johns Hopkins School of Education. Also keep in mind, an applicant must have a master's degree from an accredited university or the equivalent from a foreign institution in one of the following areas: education, psychology, or behavior analysis. There are a few additional steps you need to take in order to complete the application process if you are an international student. You must submit a TOEFL or IELTS score. If your degree was completed outside of the US, you will need to complete a course-by-course evaluation. Additional information can be found on our website. Also note that we do not offer I-20 for part-time or online programs. Please contact the Office of International Services if you have any question. The current tuition for the School of Education is $774 per credit for face-to-face courses. We anticipate the tuition for the 2019-2020 academic school year will be $793 per credit for face-to-face courses. The anticipated 2019-2020 base tuition cost of the program is $19,032 for 24 credits. Keep in mind, this excludes textbook, course materials, graduation fee, and registration fees. Please note, additional fees apply and are charged separately from tuition. We encourage you to view our tuition and fees page on our website for the most up-to-date information about tuition and fees so that you can understand the complete picture of the costs associated with becoming a student here at Johns Hopkins School of Education. If you're interested in applying for financial aid, we strongly encourage you to apply for financial aid when you start your application. Please note the priority financial aid application deadline listed on this slide. Please visit our website if you have any questions relating to financial aid. You'll find contact information for the Office of Financial Aid and details of loans and scholarships that are available. If you have any questions relating to your application, please feel free to email or call us. Also, this is the address you would use to send any supporting material such as official transcripts. In addition, these are contact information for the program faculty lead, Dr. Tamara Martyr, and then the academic coordinator, Camila Mika Sims, and then my information, Assistant Director of Admissions, if you have any admissions-related questions. Thank you for attending the Postmasters Applied Behavior Analysis virtual webinar. At this time, Dr. Martyr and I would like to open up the floor for questions. Again, please type in your questions in the chat box. All right, so Dr. Martyr, we have a program-related question. Will previous RBT or ABA experience count towards practicum?
So this would be on a case-by-case basis. I am less familiar with the RBT requirements, so I would have to look that up and what the guidelines are from the BACB. They pretty much outline what those requirements are. I do know that in order to count hours, you can begin counting practicum hours towards your BCBA as long as you are enrolled in graduate coursework. So I would have to look to answer that more specifically. I would have to look at the guidelines for the BACB. That's definitely the first time I've gotten that question, so I'd have to research that a little bit more. I think it's Latoya Drummond who asked me that question. Do feel free to follow up with me in an email and we can look at that together.
All right, so the next question is, what is the student to faculty ratio for the PMC Applied Behavior programs for the ABA program?
So on average, we have in each course, the cohorts are relatively small. On average, we have about 15 students in each cohort. So you do get a lot of individualized attention from your professors in each course. Obviously, when you get to the practicum, you get a lot of individual support because you not only have your professor who provides you with a group supervision, but you also have your individual supervisor.
Thank you. Looks like the next question, again, program related for the practicum internship. Do the required hours of supervision to qualify for BACB certification need to be completed outside the program?
So let me look at that question again. So again, typically you can begin accruing your hours for practicum once you begin taking your courses. The way that our program is designed is that all students begin their practicum experience during the second year of the program in order to qualify. So essentially, sometimes people ask me if they can start doing their hours during the first year of the program. The answer is yes, but if you follow our curriculum and go through the practicum as we have designed it, you will be able to get all of those hours within the program.
The next question we have is, will the School of Education offer a master's program in ABA in the future?
That's a great question because as I was just blocking out my calendar to set up time to create that master's program, we are hoping to launch a program in the near future that is a master's degree in both special ed and applied behavior analysis.
We have a student asking, my master's is mental health counseling. Would this be a graduate degree that would be applicable? I have more than 5 years of ABA experience and was a teacher running an ABA-based program.
So I would recommend, again, and we can do this together, and that is looking at the BACB guidelines regarding master's degrees. They outline that the master's degree must be in psychology or education as well as behavior analysis. And so as long as your master's has a focus on psychology, if there's psychology within your transcript or the title of your program that you graduated from, you should be good. But we can look at that again. Latoya, that was a great question from you. If you would like to, we can discuss this over the phone or through email by looking at your transcripts.
So the next question is an interview required for admission? So as I mentioned, as part of the admissions requirements, a select number of applicants will be invited for an interview. And Dr. Martyr, if you can kind of elaborate a little bit on what that interview kind of would look like, share details, I think that would be really helpful.
Sure, absolutely. So the interview, you would receive an invite for once the faculty committee, the admissions committee reviews your application and deems you appropriate for the program, then you would be invited by email to come and interview with us. The interview, typically we ask people to set aside about 3 hours in the morning on specific dates, and we typically will conduct those interviews between April and June. And during the interview, we will review the program requirements. You will have the opportunity to meet with faculty as well as other folks from the program to not only answer questions about your goals and your professional goals, but for you to ask us questions about what you want to get out of the program.
Great. These are some really good questions. We have another one. The next question is, if I get into the program in September 2019, will the practicum hour for certification be $750 for the certification or $1,000?
That is a great question, and one that I was reviewing in my mind before I came here today to do the web seminar. The requirements will be for 750 hours. We will still be offering the intensive practicum for the cohort that's coming in 2019, in the fall of 2019.
Great. Any other questions? Again, please type your questions in the chat box.
And actually, if I can just add to that, this next cohort coming in for fall 19, this will be the last opportunity to complete the intensive practicum.
Good to know.
After this fall, then the next cohort coming in fall 20 would be expected to complete the 1,000 hours. And somebody's asking a question about the application due date. It is April 1st. And obviously, you can always get it in before then as well. You don't have to wait till April 1st.
All right, any other questions? It looks like we have one more question. Okay. So 2019 will be, so we have a question asking about, again, one more time about the cohort. So 2019 will be the last cohort before the changes in hours, correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
Got it. And then another question, what is the acceptance rate for the program? You spoke of 15 people in the cohort. How many people apply?
So typically we have, over this past year, for last year's cohort, we had about 40 people apply to the program. And we actually last year accepted 17 into the program.
We have another question, final question. I have already applied to the program. When are the acceptance usually told?
So the admissions committee for this program is currently convening to review the applications we've received. The next step will be invitations to interview if folks are deemed appropriate for the program based on the admissions criteria and the application that's submitted, those invitations will go out, and we're probably looking at starting our interviews in April, sometime in April. So if you're invited for an interview, you should be contacted prior to that.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Martyr. Oh, is there another question? Okay, the last question I see is, can I apply to financial aid even though I haven't had any answer?
Yes, and so one of the requirements, I think one of the slides we talked about, you should be, if you are interested in financial aid, even if you are still applying to the program, you should apply for financial aid.
All right, any other questions? It looks like we're about to wrap up. Okay, so it looks like there are no more questions. Thank you again for your interest in the Johns Hopkins School of Education. We look forward to hearing from you. Have a wonderful evening.